Erin Morgan of Hoax Bluff. This is round 2 of this. We tried last week to do this in Hoax Bluff's field house, and at the time it was a great idea. It was going to be so cool.
It was.
On set, on scene, and then anytime someone breathed, it really overpowered us, and Josh sent me the video of it, and we sounded.
I do hate it because it was the weight room that our grandfather was named after, Charles Morgan.
There was a picture of Sweet
in the
Potato.
field house, and we had Taylor, my husband, right in between us from his championship, state championship 2001 for his senior year. We had everything all together except the audio.
It was all together, and including in this audio, I need you all to know that this is Friday Night Wives. It is brought to you by Michael Delozier of Aligned Insurance and Auto Owners Insurance. If you have anything that needs to be insured, bicycle, your life,
yes,
a boat.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Delozier. His banner will pop up at some. I'm pointing on his head one way or another. I don't know which side he's on, and I also don't know my left from my right, so it could go either way. But that's Friday Night Wives is brought to you by Michael Delozier of Aligned Insurance and Auto Owners Insurance. And so, also, sorry about all the editing fiasco last week, Josh. Anyway, back to you.
Yeah.
Our little dumpster fire. This is what she was just telling us. Was,
yeah.
God love her husband. You tell the story. Don't we tell all your stories? You tell your story.
No. I mean, as a coach's wife, you have to be very flexible, even when there's dumpster fires that you may or may not cause yourself. Things happen.
It'd be that way.
You roll with it, you go with it, and you make it happen in the end.
It was a great idea. To be in the field house was a great idea, and I really do. I'll have to see if I can get Josh to kind of stitch the pictures together, because you guys need to see the picture of Coach Morgan
because he looked 12.
He was a wee little lad.
He looked 12, but he was one of the players of the game, and I did love the fact it was in our granddad Charles Morgan's weight room, who is now with a reserved seat beside me, because I said as long as I was living, no one else would sit beside me because they could not fill those shoes or that seat.
I mean,
after 90 years, he started the athletic program for Hoax Bluff as far as the Booster Club.
So, just in case you're wondering, Erin is Hoax Bluff rooted, but Taylor Morgan is Hoax Bluff royalty.
Mm-hmm.
So, your lineage goes back.
I'm just like an old oak tree, but he's, yes, royalty.
She's just an old oak tree.
200 year with the roots. I'm not leaving. Can't make me.
She just went Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
She's Hoax Bluffian through and through.
Yeah, but he had 4 grandparents graduate from Hoax Bluff. Some of mine had to go to the military early, so they didn't get to.
Oh, see, they ruined your trend.
It's okay. I give them credit for the military service.
We'll allow it.
Absolutely.
Just this once.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I just like that you're no one can fill his seat or his shoes. And see, one day someone will say that about me, but it's going to be because they're going to be listen, she left a butt print the size of Nantucket. You cannot fill it. It's just going to suck you into its vortex.
Hey,
so
maybe stay away enough for that.
Stay away from Tara's spot. There's a big dent in it, and it will pull you in. It has its own gravitational pull.
And I like to have that pull with Granddad Charles's seat, because when I'm sitting beside no one physically, it doesn't mean that I don't have a lot of friends, but it just may mean that most people don't want to sit by me during a game anyway.
I mean, I also use that excuse. If you see me at Applebee's and there's an empty seat next to me, it's not that I don't have any friends. It's that
you choose to be that way.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sitting there by myself because they have The Rock-inspired beverages there.
Absolutely, yeah. You choose that.
I have friends.
You choose that.
Bo, quit laughing. Josh.
It's a stretch.
Josh is chuckling at the computer right now.
I chose to be by you today after I flew through Coleman and Huntsville to come back.
Yes, see, this is how, I text Erin and I said, listen, Josh has spent his whole life trying to edit our first video, and he's really mad at me. And Josh is one of my best friends in the world, so we do this really fun game where, if he doesn't answer my phone call, I leave what we call a crazy girlfriend message.
Rightfully so.
And so, he's saved a lot, and maybe one day we'll sell them on the internet for money. I don't know, but that's
Are
what
you
I
sure
do.
it's the audio problem or the actual content of the first video?
It was the audio.
Make
We sounded
Chris.
so bad. We were like, and he said,
I'll
I'll use it.
the world hears us.
It could be like Ghost Hunters.
I feel like that's how people in the stands hear me when I'm like, I don't want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I just can't imagine anyone having anything like
Negative?
yeah to say to like around. I guess once you get in the stands, like people just automatically.
It's hilarious. All of a sudden, I'd go deaf.
Yeah, well, you sit next to another old
That's
person.
why I choose to sit by Mr. Buss, who's 94, and my granddad, Charles Morgan, who's not with us anymore, but still hearing everything from heaven. So we're good. The best part that I hated that we missed in the last interview was when you realized Coach Morgan was the one who was one of your teachers at Piedmont.
Yes, he was an ag teacher. And he
on a cart. He didn't even have a building yet.
Well, and yes, and then once he did, he was in the building for a minute.
He had to show ID for tea in the cafeteria.
God love him. He got like so many people would be like,
He looked like a kid, new kid.
Yes, he did, and that was the thing was like teachers would be like, "Are you lost?" And he'd be like, "I'm on my way to the teachers' lounge." They'd be like, "Not today, Bucko. We don't do that here." And he'd be like,
"He's got his card."
He's like, "No, really, I work here." So I used to bring him. He wasn't my teacher per se. I never did ag.
Oh, I'm
but
sorry.
It was probably for the best. Like he came out better on the other end of that deal. But I would bring him his attendance sheet because I worked in the office. Because I have always had high hopes for myself.
How is an aspiring office FTA?
Well, and guess what you grew up to be?
The office, like the receptionist and the bookkeeper's favorite person.
That's it, exactly. That's it.
They still message me.
Well, listen though, Erin grew up to be a pharmaceutical rep.
To sell legal drugs.
Legally. Emphasis on that. I want that word to fly
legally.
In like that word font. It's like legally. So she had to fly all the way, and we say fly. When you said
on
you said,
four tires.
She did. She sent me a text. She said, "I'm coming in hot," and she did. Like I sat there and watched you turn into Bo's driveway, and I was like, "Well,
with efficiency,
it's a ditch now. There's a divot out there."
I like to leave my mark everywhere I am. I do want to say though, in regards to Piedmont, my husband only left so he could go home to Hoax Bluff.
Oh,
he would have never left Piedmont. He was there for a state championship. He was there for milestones of kids and teachers and coaches who became close friends, and he would have never left other than to go home.
But let's be honest.
Home is home.
Home is home. It just is what it is.
We bleed green.
Which is odd.
On Fridays.
I was going to say only aliens.
And then we bleed orange, blue, and green and white every other day.
I mean, as a pharmaceutical rep, I think you know as well as I do, if you're bleeding orange, blue, green, and white, you are having some issues. But I'm sure there might be something in your bag that could clear that right up.
Sure. But we did have family to decline our laundry help when we had younger kids and babies, because they said they were tired of only seeing green and white, orange and blue.
Well,
and I said, y'all should thank us. And they didn't have the same idea sometimes.
It could be worse. It could be. Absolutely. It could be worse. Like you could be throwing in like reds and whites and making pinks.
Yeah, our clothes never bled on anything else. We wanted to keep all the blood for ourselves.
See, there you go.
Absolutely.
Problem solved. Mm-hmm. Problem solving. Modern problems require modern solutions.
Yes, just to be Hoax Bluff and Auburn.
It's easier that way. So
it keeps you humble.
Or it keeps you something. As an Alabama fan, sitting here next to my new Auburn friend,
I'm humble.
We
have a lot of character building.
There's some character building going on.
If I go through another character building year, I don't know how much character I can have, but I'm working on it.
You have a lot of character right now.
I'm working.
So let's go back. Let's take your character all the way back to high school.
Yeah.
You and I just feel so inclined to start calling him T-Dog. you and T-Dog.
That's funny because the people I work with who have never met him call him T-Bone.
Oh, T-Bone, I don't like that.
It's okay until you watch the Seinfeld episode where George wants to be called T-Bone. It's a little demoralizing, but it's okay.
Ooh.
We'll go with it. You call him whatever you want. He doesn't care, and I promise you that.
He'll just put his fingers in his ears
exactly,
at the table and ignore me.
Yes, because he is not a PR degree, and he's there for the students and his players, and I will wholeheartedly back him on that, but he's not really there for any of the adults or parents who have things to say that he doesn't agree with, and I will back him. He loves the students and kids, his players.
I mean, to be fair, if I'm in a back alley fight and they go, "Oh my gosh, you only have one person help. Grab Erin or Taylor." Oh no, I'm taking Erin. I'm taking you. Like I'm like, oh y'all better watch out because I just got Erin in.
I'm taking Taylor. So we'll pull both cards, and I swear you won't go wrong.
See, there you go.
I'll either talk us out of it, but Taylor will get us out of it, no matter how big or small.
See, and I feel like we were kindred spirits because I tend to get us talked into some issues. Like I told you last time about Ben and I went to. Oh my gosh, my last name is Spellman now. I forgot that. I'm married. Yeah,
you
okay.
are.
I keep forgetting that. I keep remembering my Blanchard. But
I gave up my S monogram from Sandlin to you for Spellman.
Thank you. It's so sweet of you.
I have an extra one if you want it.
Do you want to go to Applebee's after this?
If we're fancy like.
We are.
Okay, great.
It's a date night. But yeah, we had been in Chattanooga at the Reed House and back in their little pool hall area, and people were like, "Hey, do you want to shoot pool?" And I was like, "Oh no, because I don't like to do things I'm not good at. Like I'm not good at shooting pool, so I'm not going to do that with strangers because then they might know that I'm bad at something.
Yeah.
Like more than just life." And so,
that's when I do things with Taylor just to embarrass him because I'm like, I'm terrible
I
at
was
certain things.
so bad that I was like, no. Well, then I ended up like becoming a banker for all these strangers who were also strangers with one another. So like I was like the hub, and somehow I became the bank, and I'm like, oh no, it's best 2 out of 3 or it's best 3 out of 5, and like keeping up like tally marks. And
Where was your dumpster fire?
Well, it happened later, and Ben was like, lay everyone's money down and just walk away. And I was like, I can't, I'm the banker. And he was like, oh no.
Seems like a forfeit.
Sounds to me like I lost a golden opportunity to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Sounds to me like I could have robbed some people blind. I'm just kidding.
Unnecessary forfeit. Yeah.
But anyway, let's get back to, tell us how you met Taylor. They went to high school together.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I broke it.
No, so when I say we have deep Hooksbluff roots, I'm not sure anybody can get deeper than like great-grandparents who lived in the community, grandparents who all lived aligned on the same road, whether they were on one end or the other. Our dads graduated together from Hooksbluff in 74. Our moms graduated together from 76 from Hooksbluff. My mom was valedictorian. Taylor's mom was class beauty and the head cheerleader. Super fun.
You didn't tell me that last time.
Yeah, valedictorian doesn't always sound very fun, but thankfully, like, my mom also married my dad, who was not valedictorian, but he seemed fun.
He was class clown.
Yeah, he was fun. And then, so he played basketball, and then Taylor's dad was a big football star, too. So, we tried to give our kid as much Hooksbluff athleticism and character as possible. It was planned somewhat. So our dads were kind of in competition the whole time through Goodyear, and they were like 40 years of service, because our granddads had already served like 60 years at Goodyear, it seems like. So they were trying to see who could raise their kids the hardest. Well, it was against Taylor and me, and I kept having to raise my hand and be like, well, I'm a girl. But
please don't push me down.
But it's okay. I'm glad they raised me the way I was, because it set me up to be thick-skinned and coach's wife and be able to deal with everything that comes on the table for that. So
all the joy.
So then after all 4 of our parents are 2 years apart, Taylor was always known as the super cute kid that was 2 years younger than me that kind of hung out with our dads.
She's a cougar.
Not really.
Not really, but it's fun to say.
It sounds good. It sounds great.
Real good.
Now I'm just like, oh, you're the oldest one here? I mean, that's what I get now. I was at a dove hunt this past weekend, and they're like, we just figured out, like, Taylor, are you the oldest one here? And he's like, no, there's someone else older. And they're like, it's
my old lady.
Yeah. Old lady.
My old
Yeah.
lady. Hey,
I would love to be labeled cougar.
hey,
But
you know
no,
what?
old lady's here. No, I'm just kidding.
Ball
So,
and chain.
but
Could be
it
worse.
was reality. It was a harsh reality. So, I knew him, all through high school. And actually, when I was in Auburn, Taylor's dad and mom sent him to Auburn, where I had like a semester left. I was supposed to be in charge while I was and keeping a good eye on their kid.
The
And
old
I did.
lady. You leave the
I
old
did.
lady in charge.
I kept, but I said I would do what I would do, and I did, and I kept a good eye on him, and I thought, dang it, he's really cute.
She kept such a good eye.
I did. It was a watchful eye. So then, fast forward a few months, I had already graduated from Auburn. I'd already, started working. He had come home from Thanksgiving, and I'm like, oh my goodness, the kid I was supposed to be watching is now not a kid anymore.
I was going to say, oh my gosh, the kid I was supposed to be watching is here. I was like, that's also how I babysit.
Well, I mean, yeah, that too. But, I tried to sound very responsible in it. So that's when I'm like, wow, I think he's more my age now. So we started dating then, and the rest is history. But we decided it wasn't completely planned, but we decided it was what needed to be done because we both had written, which is crazy. I know this sounds super crazy, and this makes us seem a little obnoxious about Hokes Bluff. Taylor and I both, in our 9th and 10th grade years, had made journal entries for our English classes where we had said we would marry someone from Hokes Bluff, and at one point I deviated to they would have to move to Hokes Bluff and love it.
Okay,
but that was hard.
Well,
I really needed them to be from there, but at that point I was like, ooh, my chances are not very good.
Yeah, you start looking around and you're like, oh God.
So then I said, well, I can bring one in and make them love it. But they needed to love it and bleed green before I married them. So anyway, so ideally, we wanted Hokes Bluff, and this is 2 years apart on journal entries. And we wanted, of course, they had to be Auburn. There was nothing else available that would be okay.
You guys stack the deck.
And then I needed them to be Christian, and then like my family, because we're a lot to handle. He needed the same. And then it was a perfect match. I hate to say for anyone that thinks that we were the last resort for anyone or each other, because it wasn't. It was a perfect match.
It was perfect.
So we've been together 17 years.
Listen, my favorite part is our journal entries were Hokes Bluff.
Yes. I mean,
Auburn.
Now, I didn't specifically say that above God.
I
meant God, then Hokes Bluff, then Auburn.
Dear Lord, I was just right
He
where
understood.
my heart took me.
God understood.
He did.
He did. Because he's like, dang it.
He's like, you know
I
what?
believe in y'all.
That's just Erin. What can you do with her?
But Taylor had it on his closet door, and it's still there at his mom and dad's house.
Stop!
No, and so he actually did. He put God, Auburn, and then Hokes Bluff, and then family.
I mean,
so I know I fit number 4.
Yeah, you're somewhere in there.
Which I feel great, because, top 10 is always usually pretty good.
Technically, though, because you graduated from Auburn, you could be Auburn. You could
be I could. Or because I have faith in God, I could be right at a 1A.
Like an asterisk. A little, your little notation.
Yeah, really, it was what I prayed for. I knew that nothing else was going to fit for either one of us, because we were so set in what we wanted.
You know what? Those standards. Something that
some people
round
call
one.
them lower, and I call them, just those things that people can't touch.
Listen, if I had standards round 1, we'd be telling a different story right now. No, just kidding.
But flexibility in life is good.
It is. It is good.
I also said I would never be a coach's wife. I knew all through my years of playing sports, I saw my coaches more than they saw their families. Mm-hmm. And I knew how it was to have a dad who lived at Goodyear. And I thought that's where his address was, on Meakin Boulevard versus Fords Valley Road, because he lived there. So I said, I will never marry a coach or a hunter that works at Goodyear, because I knew that was, or a racetrack Like I knew that was totally out because there was no room for me. Well, I also said I never wanted a kid that played quarterback or pitcher or point guard or anything with a lot of stress for the mama. Because I didn't feel like I wanted to sit there on the sidelines for once in my life and just be like, I got it.
This is great. This is fun. Yeah.
God laughed.
She wanted a C-team water boy.
Dang it. And God laughed and said, no, I'm going to do it all at one time.
He's a surprise.
Yeah.
I also love how astute you were because I'm going to be honest. In high school, I wasn't thinking like, I see my coach more than he sees his family. Like, I was like, I'm not running another sprint.
No,
I mean, I'm going to, but I don't want to. Like,
well, I knew my dad worked more hours than most people ever thought about.
Right.
And then, so I knew he had already set the standard for those work hours, like 80 hours a week, and nobody could touch it. And he was still at my games, so I knew it was super important. I'm like, I'm probably not going to be that good when I get older. Like, I'm probably going to be real tired. Like,
well, yeah.
So I'd already had that in the back of my mind. But then with the coaches, I also knew they can't do anything that my dad hasn't already done to me as far as discipline.
That's true.
Sprints weren't an option for my dad.
Oh.
So I was more worried about disappointing rather than having the consequences.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to disappoint anyone.
Sorry, I have pork chop here. Bo's cat ran through earlier, and now I'm like, I feel like I have a nose.
I think that disappointment thing with me, though, is also why I'm here after a 14-hour day when I've driven from Post left to
I was
Coleman
fully
to
prepared to
and back.
the hook and do this on another day, but she said no, she's a fighter, and as I will sometimes.
Because I was able-bodied, I'm like, no, I can still physically make it.
I will sometimes, and that's been, I think it's one of his top 37 complaints about me that are aired daily.
Yeah.
They said I will take on so much, but let's I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it. And then
it's probably a sense of pride. Too.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, I'm in hysterical tears, or not tears, but I'm in hysterics. If you push me to tears, like you said, someone's getting ready to peace out of this earth, and somehow he's always my target. I'm customer service voice all day. Oh my god! And then I look at him and I'm like, somebody's in trouble, and he's like, oh my god.
I have been asked a few times when I can give a customer service voice to certain situations and then seem like my head may have come off my shoulders, spun around, laid on the ground for a minute and come back nothing happened, and I'm supposed to approach everyone like things are fine.
It's one of those things where you take it and you take it and you take it, and then it's something little, something tiny little that just snaps, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, she's crazy, and I'm like, literally, you ran me over with your car, and I was like, oh my god, it's my fault, I was in the way.
Yeah. No, I would be okay with that, but what brought me to that was after I'd made all the declarations that I would never marry a coach because of all the time and hours invested that I really didn't even know about when I said I would never marry a coach, then that's when my husband got into competitive Ironman and 100-mile trail runs and everything you can think of, but he was actually really good at it, so I had to keep supporting him.
He did 100-mile trail runs?
So, he didn't, I don't know what this says about me or our marriage, I don't know, but, so when we got married, he, within a year or two, well, it was 2 years, he had done Ironman, which is, I think he was still at Piedmont, actually.
Okay.
So he got the tattoo for it, just so none of us forget. And that entailed a 2.5-mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and a 26.2-mile run.
And this was all in a day?
I had an 8-month-old that wasn't happy about the day at all.
So that was all in a day?
All in a day. He did it in a really good time. I want to say it was, I don't want to ruin his time, but it was very, very good.
I was going to say, shave some, if anything, take some seconds
I cannot
off.
remember. It was something ridiculous that even if I said, most people wouldn't believe. I mean, it was something really fast because it was so fast, I missed the finish with an 8-month-old who wasn't happy about life. And we were in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh.
The best part of that was we had made reservations at a steakhouse prior to the Ironman. Yeah. And I just, keep in mind, 8-month-old. And husband only married me for size and height to give to his kids anyway, so winner. He had to wear my jeans to the steakhouse because he brought no pants, and it was a long pant only attire. So he looked better in my jeans that were actually too long than I did, and I was very bitter with an 8-month-old who still hated life during the steakhouse dinner.
Listen, I'm picturing Coach Morgan right now.
He looks really good.
I'm picturing him in like flare jeans. Like
this was 2008.
So small.
Look, this was 2008. So post pregnancy, it was a size 8 I'll never forget. It was size 8 American Eagle. They weren't flare, but they were boot cut.
Were they the artist ones? Like they weren't quite flare, but they weren't like straight boot cut. They were like that weird in between.
Possibly. I'm thinking though they might have still been boot cut in 2008. I'm not sure, but so this was like July-ish of 2009 when he wore them. And I wasn't really proud of them, but he did look better than I did.
Coach Taylor.
Yeah. So
I'm just disappointed they weren't mud jeans. That ruins everything.
Yes. The LEI.
Oh my god.
If I could have those.
Oh.
A few years earlier.
Why were you fashionable?
A few years earlier.
Oh.
Dang it. So, and then when I said no more Iron Men, like
no more Iron Men in the house.
I have one. We're done. Then he said, "Well, I'll do a 100-mile trail run."
As one does.
Mm-hmm. So, naturally, because of how I am, like, I'm very realistic with sports, athletic, anything. And so I had no idea he would do as well as he did, even though I had already met him during the middle of the night to run 6 miles of that 100 miles, because it was through Mount Cheehaw, and I dropped him off somewhere near Piedmont or something. He ended up in Silicaga. So I had he was able to have someone run 6 miles at a time with him, so I had chosen that. And even though there was no room for error on the side of the mountain, and I'm a hazard to myself and anyone near me, it happens. I mean, it's where I get my sense of humor, because I usually dial once a day. So,
you have to be funny if you're going to be clumsy.
Or, I mean, if you're just...
Or me.
Yeah. So, I said, no more. So I ran the 6 miles in support, and then came back the next morning to get him. And I was so exhausted because I never got sleep the whole night, because I still had, at this time, like a 9-month-old or something ridiculous. I fell asleep in my car, but I was also writing on the back of pictures, because I was trying to document, like, our kid's first year that I knew I was never going to remember. And they were from all the ball games and stuff throughout the year. Well, then the only thing that woke me up and kind of got me out of my trance at like 5 a.m. was my husband, Coach Morgan, at my window. I wish I'd kept it up because he smelled terrible. So I was so mad at myself for missing his finish of this 100-mile trail run. That was a huge deal.
You just can't make it to the finish line.
No, because I thought I still had like a 45 to an hour window left.
You gotta quit being so fast.
Yeah. I needed him to not do as well as whatever.
Yeah, quit being successful.
But then I didn't let him ride in my car across the street to the community center where he was going to get the shower, because I didn't want him to make my car smell bad. So I said, "You did great. I'll follow you."
Look, you made it 100 miles.
I mean,
What's
seriously.
20 more steps, you bum?
I mean, it was across a highway, breakfast hour for the older people.
Well, they weren't going fast.
No, and
So
I
you
told him,
were.
I said, you can still shuffle across. I mean, he was
It
at a
was-
shuffle. He was at a
like
shuffle at this point.
Frogger. It was a very interesting game of Frogger.
And I'm like, this completes the challenge. But I was saying this with my window completely up.
You're like, it's a challenge. You run.
I'm like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I
You're
love you.
so good. You're the bet number one.
Like, I love you, but you're so terrible.
Ooh,
It was a
ooh,
company
ooh.
car. I couldn't have that in my company car. It was free gas.
I can have the baby in the car,
Yes.
but not you.
Yes, I can justify some.
The baby that poops pants can
Yeah.
stay here, but you're
No.
that.
He was able-bodied to get to that community center and shower.
The fact that he ran 100 miles, though, really,
It made me question our marriage
I mean,
and what he thought about life.
like I started doing the gym at the beginning of the year, and I would do like 8 miles a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I got real excited when I set my mile pace at like 7:45. Not bad for a 30-year-old. Like, Mama can run. Well, then I blew my knees out. And then I was sitting there like, I really miss running. And then I'm like, what, you know what, though? Do I miss running?
No, I gave up running.
I don't remember. I don't think, I can't.
I got to the age where I gave up running and realized I never got that runner's high. And I was like, no, this isn't fair to me.
That's been
I hate every minute of it, but I would do marathons and stuff to stay with him.
Yes.
They were respectable times, but they weren't his times. So then when the kids got older, they were like, well, you didn't do what Daddy did or what Taylor did. And I was like, well, you know what? I didn't. And so now I'm not going to.
And now I won't. That's Ben told me that.
I'm like, but you have clean clothes and a clean house.
Ben told me, he's like, you have some sick thing with the gym where, like, you feel like if you're not hurting yourself, you're not working. And I was like, pain is weakness leaving the body. And he was like, stop yelling quotes at me that are on someone's weight room wall.
Yeah. Then I got to pain is therapy and I have to pay $30 a session. And
cortisone shots are $300.
Yeah. And I'm like, when I fall now, people are like, oh, ma'am, are you okay? And I'm like, dang it.
Ma'am, is she pushing her life alert button?
Yeah. I mean, it used to be like, oh, I hope nobody saw that. And now I'm like, dang it, I hope somebody saw me so they can help me.
Yeah. I followed like that life alert commercial.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
except all my family put the wrong number on the life alert. Like,
see, my mother would make sure that, like, my brother had everyone's phone number, like, down to people who we've not seen in years. And then she'd be like, Tara, your number that you need to call is 927. I'd be like, Mom, that was our old landline.
Yeah.
It's disconnected. And she'll be like...
So I tried to be the responsible wife. So I made us, after Taylor had gotten hit by a vehicle on his bicycle.
Oh, wait.
And I'm like, dang it.
I don't know. I was like, okay.
Yeah. So I was like, dang it, I cannot have my husband on the side of the road in a bunch of spandex and not able to do anything with that bicycle. I was like, somebody needs to call me. So I made us these emergency bracelets. Yeah, well, the bikes really were.
The bikes are very expensive.
Yeah, I wish they had motors.
Please stop hitting Taylor's bike.
Yeah. I mean, Taylor's resilient.
Taylor's fine. Do not hit that bike.
Don't hit the bikes. They cost more than our cars now. So I made us bracelets. Unfortunately, on my ID bracelet, I put my own cell phone number.
Ma'am, is there someone we can call for you? Like,
and
yes.
I'm like, oh, that's right.
Hello? It's me? Oh my God, am I okay?
I'm like, I'm the answer to my prayers.
I am my favorite person.
Which Taylor would say would never happen.
Listen.
So yeah.
I love that.
Life lesson, double check before you ever hit submit on any forms that are online.
I love that.
And don't put my number as one of them.
Don't put my mom down either, because she won't answer. She'll be like, emergency services.
Yeah, no.
I'm like,
she's like, I don't have an emergency.
You know, here's the thing. Like, you spend your whole life with parents. Like, when they call you, they're like, what were you doing? Why did you not answer on, like, the first ring? The first half ring. And you're like, I'm sorry, I was living my life. As it, like, I called you back, and now...
I'm trying to live my best life.
Yeah, and then when you grow up, like, you call your parents, you call, like, 154 times, and... Because, like, they go from, what if you were dead in a ditch, to where you're going, what if I was dead in a ditch? And they're like, listen, you've made it this far.
Yeah.
Ain't
my dad
taking
called
you
me
out.
9 times on the dove field Saturday. We're still not sure why, because he's still in Eldora, Ohio, at a dirt track race.
Where he is the crew chief, pit crew chief.
Apparently.
But he does not race. He's not a driver. He's just the pit crew chief.
I think he's aged out. He admitted he aged out.
Now he really is a pit crew chief.
Yeah.
This year it's for reals.
He's a fan.
He lied for a long time.
But he was really, that you get caught in your lies if you're good and you end up on the front page of race championships. You can't deny being the crew, like the pit crew chief.
It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Erin, I have 2 more questions for you. And now that we've rambled on and had the best time
it
ever.
Happens.
This is the best. How did Taylor propose to you?
Oh, goodness. It really isn't the best. Like, you would think a lot of our stories would happened with the best. Now, granted, where he proposed is no longer there because it did burn in the Gatlinburg fires.
The Gatlinburg fires, not the Erin Morgan fire.
Yeah, no, totally different dumpster fire.
Two different fires.
This Gatlinburg fire was of nice places. And so we were at a friend's.
Erin just take that apple.
Yeah. Because it's fancy.
It's fancy.
So we were at a friend's house in Gatlinburg, and I was dressed head to toe in Auburn paraphernalia with a oversized sweatshirt.
As one wants to be.
Laying on a couch because it's Saturday. I'm tired from the week because I had a job. But then
Don't have one, get one.
Yeah. So Taylor just comes in and after the Auburn game decides it's time. So he just asked, because he knew he wanted it to be a surprise, and it was definitely a surprise.
It was a surprise.
I mean, we had no pictures, no nothing like that. So, but we were able, it was special because we were able to come home and tell, especially like his uncle, Gary Taylor, who's his mom's brother, who had cancer. He had just come in from the major last cancer treatments. And this is the same uncle that was the dad of Tara Elliott, who just passed on Monday or Tuesday. My days are so mixed up of the dates now. It's been a very long week, but with all that with our family. So anyway, we were able to tell Gary Taylor that we were going to get married because Gary said that I would fit in with the family better than anyone else. So we had his blessings, and unfortunately he did pass before the wedding, but we were able to get Tara Elliott's son, Austin, in the wedding before his major surgery.
I was about to say.
So we moved our wedding up.
Oh.
Everything was around family. So we had 400 of our closest friends and family in Hooks Bluff at First Baptist Church for our wedding.
Which is where they're still members.
Yeah.
Still
First Baptist still lets us come in.
It's funny though, because I was just adamant that I didn't want to get married in a church, and we didn't really have a home church anymore. It's like I've moved off and he's moved off, and he's from Rome, and it's the whole thing. And we wound up here in Asheville at Flow, and so I was like, I don't want to get married in a church. And then lo and behold, we eloped to our home church. We did. We eloped to a church. My mom was like, "That's not what eloping means." That's
hilarious, but so sweet.
It is.
So we, I was having to travel so much with work. I knew that being outside or having an outside venue was not feasible because I was going to be gone the whole week before the wedding.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't really make a lot of changes.
Mm-mm.
And I wasn't very hands-on in the wedding anyway because I'm not that person. I tried on one wedding dress. I knew it was that. I chose it. I went with one wedding planner. Chose one house, bought it for it, because he was still in school. So, I'm pretty simple, minus all the chaos around me.
Pretty simple, minus all the chaos and fabulosity.
Yeah.
Is that a word? Fabulosity? Sure it is.
Yes, we'll make it. So, and then we realized, thank goodness we were very happy with the church we had chosen that had let us stay members for our whole lives, basically, because that was the only place to accommodate 400 people of our closest friends and family in Hooks Bluff.
I mean, hey, if it works, it works. We literally were in the church, I was sitting in the bathroom floor, re-rolling my hair, and my sister stuck her head in, and she was like, "Hey, people are starting to get here." We did just immediate family. We're having a party at our original venue. Football ruined our original venue.
Oh, we had to get married in June or August because it didn't interfere with football or baseball or dove or duck or deer or
oh my god,
possum or anything you can possibly think of.
Are we both married to Taylor? No, wait, I married Ben. Never mind. Okay, because that's so very Ben. We'll be at a dove shoot Saturday.
Yes, that's where we were this whole weekend.
Yeah, so that's it's a thing. But yeah, that was one of those where the pastor's wife stuck her head in and she was like, "Hey, do you want me to put anything on the screens behind you?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh." Background. Yeah, sure. So my sister was in the tech booth going I mean, that's how I was basically "Hey, let's go ahead and move it up because my brother was supposed to be done. Thanks, Bailey. Thanks for nothing. He's supposed to be done, but then COVID, and you know all about the COVID, and so our venue is already paid for.
He died twice from it.
Yeah, no big deal. God. We're totally kidding. It is. She's hospitalized for a while.
It's
actually.
real. It is real. And the vaccine's real. It's all real.
What can you say? Can't fight facts.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we had it literally was one Saturday. I was like, listen, we're just gonna move this up so my brother can be there. So we looked at the calendar and I was like, oh, that's 7-on-7. Mm-hmm. That's this, and so we had one little weekend before everything got crazy, and so we're like, oh, let's do it Sunday. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that was.
So do you know what fell on our anniversary several years in a row? Now, there was always races, but Barbarian Challenge. So Taylor won the first 2 Barbarian Challenges ever in Gadsden.
That's because you.
Out of 1,000. I mean, I was in it. I was slightly behind him.
You're just supporting.
He has the helmets. Like, UPS said they had never had to deliver real swords, but they're real, just like COVID. So he has the helmets and these swords and the helmet don't protect from COVID. But he has them downstairs. So if he ever needs to, reinforce his authority, he has the real, knight's helmet and the swords that did bring attention to the UPS delivery people.
Listen.
So that's how we spent our anniversary. And now, thankfully, we get to spend it usually during All-Stars for our son, for baseball.
So there you go.
It all works out because we wouldn't know what to do elsewhere.
Right.
Outside of a ballpark or a court or a field. We'd be lost and it'd be really awkward looking, so it makes things great when sports coincide with any birthday or
holiday or gift-giving event.
Yes.
Well, now that you have meshed into this community, we will close out with, if you could give one piece of advice to new coaches' wives or to old coaches' wives who look like they're struggling, or just in general, what would your piece of coach's wife advice be?
Something that has been in my heart the entire time is to be flexible and be understanding and know that your schedule probably still can handle some flexibility versus his. And he's there for other kids. And just remember where his heart is. And as long as he still has the heart and the passion and he is there for the kids, really you need to take a step back. It's not about you, but when you see the impact you can have on other kids, even as a coach's wife, the support you can give that may be exactly what some certain kid needs in some area can mean a million different plans that you had to rearrange or cancel. And you can't put a price or a value on that other than it's a kid's life. And so I do, as much as I get frustrated or exhausted, it is physically, mentally, emotionally exhausting at times. And especially during seasons where you're in character building. You can't take your focus away from the kids as to why your husband is doing what he's doing. He is not there for the money. He could make 1,000,000 times more doing anything else.
Listen.
But once you realize where you put your heart where his heart is, nothing else matters at that moment.
Well, I feel like that is great information. A nice little tidbit to close out on. And I just realized that I'm wearing one of your colors-ish. I didn't really mean to. But look, we planned it. It's almost like I was in your closet.
I'm going to say it's pink.
That'll work. Thank you. Yes.
Pink. This is mauve.
Look, Laura Ellen, I'm wearing your shirt. The Etowah head coach, his wife has a boutique.
I will say the only time I really cried through middle school is when I came home and my mom made me a girl room. Because I always had blue shag carpet and I liked it. I owned it. It was me.
Blue shag carpet.
I got off the bus and I came in and I have mauve carpet, that color. And I may have shed some tears. But
of anger.
I couldn't let them see it because it was not in happiness.
Well,
so this is mauve.
This is mauve. We're claiming it. We're speaking that out. But thank you so much. I know I need to let you get home and we need to let you go do whatever you're going to do, cook dinner or something. I don't know what you're going to do. But
I don't know what normal people do.
Yeah, don't ask me. Don't look at me for
Where's the nearest ball field?
Yeah, there's a park right across the street. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Oh, I've lost an earring. That's okay. I didn't need it anyway. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, this has been Friday Night Wives with Average Joes, brought to you by Michael Delozier of Aligned Insurance and Auto Owners Insurance for all of your insurance needs. And give us a battle cry before we leave. I guess a Go Eagles.
Yeah, go Eagles.
Go Eagles. Thanks, guys.